Hey, what is going on, everybody? It is Nolan, or the Optimistic Gamer here, and welcome back to part 4 of our Let's Build a Baseball Stadium. I apologize for not getting part 4 out last week. I just ran into a little bit of a creative block when I went to record the episode. I wasn't really sure what to work on, where to build, or what to build. So I decided to just take the week off. It shouldn't set us too far behind. We should still be done in time for the MLB playoffs. But it definitely helped having last week off. I was able to come in here and really get a lot done today. As you can see, I started with a roof over the main entrance here, and that is done with just black stone. Nothing too fancy on that, but that was kind of the outlier. Most of our work was going to be done up here on third deck, specifically with the stadium supports, lights, all of that good stuff, even the individual gates into each of these sections. So I was experimenting with stone stairs and slabs underneath the stands here, but it just didn't look right to me. I know for something as detailed as this, it would have been a good fit, but I just couldn't get that to look right, and I didn't want to force anything, so I decided to just stick with the stone blocks and get those placed in. So all the green concrete was covered just fine, and it looked just fine in my opinion. Now, I didn't do this all the way around. I was just doing this initially to see how it would look, but I will do the same thing for all the levels. At least club level. That's really the only one other than third deck that we can see from below. And I changed the smooth sandstone to stone bricks. I decided to stick with that for the palette. And now off to the right side of the screen, you can see I was experimenting with some different supports. I started with these triangle supports, but those just didn't fit the feel of the baseball stadium. Maybe for a different type of stadium, those would work great, but for this stadium, it just didn't feel like it was fitting. So now I'm working on the stands for the stadium lights. I initially put these on the outermost wall, but you will see here in a moment I moved them right up against the third deck. So those would act as a support for that third deck, as well as the stadium lights. And looking at pictures online, that's actually how a lot of baseball stadiums have it, with those lights right up against the third deck and the supports kind of mixed in. And I was experimenting with some different designs on these triangle supports here. Ultimately, I just decided basic stairs, slabs going across, and that would be the pattern going from the bottom all the way to the top. I would have 3 of those main supports for the lights, and eventually I just copied and pasted these to the right foul line. So now I moved that in, but I would still have some adjusting to do with it, with repositioning and sliding it over and all of that, but generally speaking, that's how that looks. So now I started working on the roof that would go over the third deck there, the awning, I suppose, and again, black stone just like the one outside of the stadium, and it didn't cover all the way, just something that stuck out just a little bit. A very common design in most, if not all, baseball stadiums. And then I was working on the concourse a little bit, sticking with stone for that. We've been doing that throughout. And the railing here, stone brick pillars, and I filled that in with gray stained glass panes. From a distance, it kind of looks like a fence, but you can still see through it. I didn't want to do fence. It didn't really feel like it had the right scale for this build, so I went with the glass instead. And then I was experimenting with possibly having this little archway that is kind of closed in a little bit, and that would just wrap around behind home plate here. I eventually deleted that and did something else that you will see in a little bit. And then I extended the awning all the way across, and again, worked on repositioning those lights just a little bit, wanted them centered, and then I finally did get them. And a similar pattern once again up here with the gray stained glass as the fence, the barrier up top, just to match everything and blend that all together. I filled in the rest of the concourse, filled in the rest of the stone underside, and started working on some supports that you can see right down below. And then it was time to carve out each section entrance, the gate for each section. I experimented with a few different designs for this. I tried stairs on the same level as the concrete, that's on the left side, and then stairs elevated 1 block above the concrete. I also tried a few different widths, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 1 block, but eventually what I decided on was a 1 block wide stone block path that would be on the same level as the green concrete. You will see that here in a moment, but you can see those two designs that I experimented with right there. And both of those just didn't seem right, so now I was filling in that seamless stone staircase, I suppose, is what we can call that. And it really highlighted what I wanted it to highlight, outlining the entrance to each section, not overtaking the scene there, but just providing enough detail to where it looks like a staircase, a nice path for the fans to get to their seats. So then I started working on the lights. I actually had a lot of fun with this, experimenting with different designs and seeing what I could get away with. I tried different supports up there, but just decided not to do anything with that. So I would have 3 levels of supports for the lights themselves, the bottom one out of stone brick, and the top 2 with slabs and stone brick walls going in between those. For the lighting, I actually used frog lights. They are I think it's called the ochre frog light, the yellow one. That was definitely the best light to use. I was between that and sea lanterns, but I ultimately decided on this just because the sea lanterns had that blue in there around the edge, and I didn't really think that fit. I wanted more of that yellow tint to the light. So I experimented with different patterns, different spacings on each level here, and ultimately decided on this pattern that you can see right here, and I was very happy with how those lights turned out. Okay, so I'm trying to remember what I worked on next. I think I may have just been copying over the designs that I had into the home plate area right behind home plate for the third deck, and then starting to bring over that design. Again, the lights would be symmetrical on both sides, so it was just a matter of copying and pasting those designs. And I think now I'm copying the roof over, the little awning here, and that would curve around. And then there are the lights put in place. I filled in a couple blocks, and that made it look very complete. So now I know I've talked about this a little bit before, how I didn't want that lower section of the third deck to wrap around behind home plate just because I wanted to have this big owner suite. So initially I experimented with a scoreboard behind here, but there was just too much empty space here, and those seats in the upper part of that third deck right behind home plate, the view was just too obstructed. You couldn't see the field at all. So I ultimately decided to get rid of that scoreboard, change the dimensions of that owner's suite, and actually continue on those stands in the lower portion of that third deck all the way around. I didn't do that circle technique that I've been using in the past, so I was just kind of free-handing it. It was a little bit difficult, and there was a lot of trial and error, as you will see here in a moment. The circles kind of got a little fat in some places and very thin in other places, so I definitely had to account for that, but I finally did get a design that I really am happy with, especially for not using World Edit to generate those circles. And here I am now, correcting some of those flaws in those first couple curves. And it was a lot of just staring at it. It honestly would have been faster to use World Edit, but when I started that, I didn't think that, so that's why I just went in freehand and tried to create the design myself. And then I was just in too deep and decided not to go back, so I just persevered and hammered it out, and again, eventually I got that circle design. So with some corrections and altering of the design of that suite right there, I did get a design for home plate that I was really happy with the press box, owner suite, or just some kind of suite, and the third deck going all the way around. And you'll notice I've been swapping out for stone brick for a lot of the railing and edges here, just to match the overall stadium vibe. And then I put one gate here in the center of the row, or of the section. And then I started working on the awning, curving that around. Luckily, the upper part of this section already had that circle generated from World Edit in the previous episode, so it was just a matter of following that design, the pattern from the concrete down below me, and then I filled in. So it's blackstone slabs and full blocks, and it alternates so we have a full block appearance all the way throughout. So those are each 2 block wide sections that go up for a total of 1.5 blocks, I think, from the start. If you're standing on the very bottom part of that roof, by the time you get to the top, you'll have gone up 1.5 blocks. So I got the roof all filled in, and then like I said before, when I was wrecking that archway that you'll see me wreck right now off to the left side of the screen, I said I was going to put in something else, kind of like a surprise, something fun and unique, I decided to turn this upper part right behind the top deck here behind home plate into some sort of patio, venue, rooftop seating, whatever you want to call it. I'm not even sure exactly what it's going to be yet, but I decided to fill in and ignore this over to the right side. I'm about to delete exactly what I just did. There we go. I wasn't really sure I'm still unsure what this area is going to be, but I just thought it would be a really fun addition and something very unique to this stadium as a whole. So next episode, maybe we will put a railing up there and turn that into a nice viewing area. But that is actually it for this episode, part 4. I'm still filling in a couple of those gates over here on the left-hand side, but other than that, that's going to do it for this part. So lots of detail added in this part today. And here comes another. I don't know why it keeps doing this. It did that in the last episode too. I'm going to need to get that figured out because the camera dips below the ground and then it rises back up. I don't have that in my keyframes, but I will go back and figure that out. But again, that's going to do it for today's episode of the Let's Build a Baseball Stadium, Part 5 next Friday. And other than that, that is pretty much it for me. Comment, like, subscribe. Remember to stay optimistic, and I will see all of you tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Bye.